Hello and welcome to Hysteria. I'm Erin Ryan.
And I'm Alyssa Mastromonaco.
Alyssa, I'd like to open this episode by thanking Kevin McCarthy.
Please do.
Okay, thank you, Kevin McCarthy, for announcing your retirement from Congress on Wednesday morning like a petty little drama queen, thus taking the petty little drama queen mantle away from former New York State Rep George Santos. I was done with George Santos.
That guy's so boring.
He jumped the shark like Fonzie with a jetpack.
Yeah. Oh, good reference.
Thank you. But he was getting so tiresome. And Kevin comes in, saves America from a whole other cycle of Santos.
Right. We did not get Wednesdayed.
We did not get Wednesdayed. Kevin knew we were recording this morning, and he released his little op-ed about how he's retiring at the end of the year, at the end of the month.
So petty.
Aaron,
so petty.
Just in
Bringing the majority in Congress down to 2? I think it's 2.
I love that for Mike Johnson.
I love it for him.
Oh my God. Alyssa, when I tell you that I was working on the outline before I went to bed last night, and so this was incorporated into my dream. I had a dream that I was barefoot in New York City, and I had and I was looking at my calendar, and it was like, I have to go meet with Moms for Liberty. And I was like, do they think they're going to have a threesome with me? Because they're not.
Menage for me, but not for thee.
Seriously. Oh, man. There's like a few gross news stories this week. We're going to get more into Moms for Liberty. It's more than just a threesome. It's also that they're total fucking assholes. But let's talk a little bit about Kevin McCarthy. Really.
Kev. Bye, Kev.
So, Alyssa, as a pettiness expert, what exactly about Kevin McCarthy announcing via an op-ed, I think in the Washington Post, what makes his move on Wednesday so petty?
Well, he's like burning the whole house down, Erin. You know, when Nancy Pelosi decided not to be speaker anymore, she still stayed as a rank and file member. Kevin proves to all of us he has never, ever been excited about being a rank and file member, about representing his district. He was always in it to be leader, which is why it took him, 15 or 17 tries to actually get it done and, very little time to be undone. And the pettiness goes to the fact that he's screwing his whole party by doing this. He could have served out the rest of his term, but instead he said he's leaving at the end of the year, which means, Erin, that the Republican majority will be down to 2 now that Santos is gone, which seems difficult.
I'm sorry. Okay, we talked about this off mic, but we need to develop a matrix system where one axis is on one end is funny and the other end is not funny. And then the other axis is bad for America and good for America. Because this is so funny and bad for America. It's an upper right quadrant. It's funny and bad for America.
Yeah. I mean, also Mike Johnson. Yikes. Good luck, bro.
I get the impression that Kevin McCarthy doesn't like Mike Johnson. Going to go out on a limb here and say that I think
you might be right, Erin. Mike Johnson, who knows? Maybe we'll find out he was behind the Kevin coup to begin with.
That would be funny, but I don't think he's got the mental capacity to scheme like that.
It's fair enough.
You know who I think does, and this is just me acting as though I'm writing on a show about this because, reality is never as good as Succession. But if this were Succession or Veep or something, it would be Liz Cheney who was behind all of it.
Also entirely possible, having a big week.
Having a big week. My first thought when I saw that Kevin McCarthy was retiring at the end of the month was that Liz Cheney's new book that just came out this week was so mean that he just couldn't face his colleagues anymore. She
made him cry uncle. He was like, all right, enough already. I'm going. Jesus.
Liz's revenge. Okay. So there's a debate on Wednesday night. We're not going to be able to talk about the debate because it's Wednesday morning. I mean, we can talk about it. It's going to be, I don't know. Did you feel
the same?
Yeah. I mean, don't you kind of feel like you're a Roman in a Colosseum watching the B team of gladiators fight?
Without question, Erin. I mean, it is like Trump is not there and who it's down to Nikki, Ron, Vivek, and Chris, right? It's just the 4 of them?
Just the 4. Yeah. The thing is it just feels very much like political watchers are just sitting there amuse me.
Right, like you've promised me debates. You must give me debates.
Perform. And it's like none of these people are going to be the nominee, most likely.
I mean, most likely not, unless something fairly catastrophic, cataclysmic happens in the next 2 months.
Look, this has been an era of cataclysm, so don't put it past reality.
Right, that's why we caveat. There's a chance.
Something very weird could happen, and one of those 4 people on stage could end up being the nominee, but it would have to be exceptionally weird. It would have to be. But yeah, there's a debate. But I really wanted to take some time, since we can't really get into what stupid stuff was said in the debate. I wanted to take some time to go into a sort of like, I guess, a new power player in politics that are deeply annoying and deeply fascist. So let's get into this. We've talked about them before. We've heard about them in the news. They are Moms for Liberty. Moms for Liberty, representing one of 2 genders in the Republican Party, moms and boys. Proud Boys and Moms for Liberty. Moms for Liberty, according to their mission statement, welcomes all that have a desire to stand up for parental rights at all levels of government. Can't you just tell that this mission statement was like, it was done in a focus group. They focus grouped the fuck out of this. And the people who were doing it were like political consultants who are definitely not moms, like standing behind.
As many of the Moms for Liberty are also not moms.
Many of them are not moms, nor do they actually want liberty. It's a very ironic name. The founders, according to the mission statement, is the founders are moms on a mission to stoke the fires of liberty. You gonna throw books in that fire, moms? As former school board members, they witnessed how short-sighted and destructive policies directly hurt children and families. Now they're using their firsthand knowledge and experience to unite parents who are ready to fight those that stand in the way of liberty. So here's something that I was surprised to learn about Moms for Liberty. It wasn't founded until 2021.
Yes, I know. You know what? It is very funny. When we were doing that, I did not realize that their essential, the kernel that they organized around was really masking in schools.
It was, yes, exactly. But in 2021, that was like the one thing that Republicans were like, this is like a winner.
Yeah. Because people are annoyed by masks. Let's dig in.
People are annoyed by masks and school closures and sort of disarray around like, who's going to look after these kids? Like in Virginia, we saw it. Governor Youngkin got elected essentially on parents being like, the fuck, guys, you can't just keep jerking us around like that. Okay, so Moms for Liberty tried to pick up that football after the whistle was blown and run it all the way to the end zone and then do a touchdown dance. And hasn't quite worked out the way they've wanted to. But according to the Southern Poverty Law Center, Moms for Liberty is a far-right anti-government organization, which I think I'm going to go by that definition instead of the gobbledygook that they gave out themselves. They advocate for the abolition of the Department of Education. They advance conspiracy theories. They have supported chapter members who have quoted Hitler in official literature.
And can I just pop in here for a sec? Because when they said they quoted Hitler, I was like, by accident? Like, did they use a quote that they didn't realize was attributed to him? And then Hitler I found the
Hitler
flyer.
Said a lot of things. No.
We all say a lot of, no. It was literally like, here's the quote, Adolf Hitler. They were very aware who gave the quote.
And then they were like, whoops, shouldn't have done that. And then like at a convention later, someone was like, yes, they should have. It's just...
It's a journey with these people.
Yeah. And it's sort of, it's very gaslighty. But another thing I was surprised to learn about Moms for Liberty. So it was founded by 3 women named Tiffany, Tina, and Bridget, who are Florida school board members. Moms for Liberty is closely affiliated with the Florida Republican Party and Governor Ron DeSantis, the whiniest bitch in American politics. And in the image and likeness of its closely affiliated, I guess, spiritual leader, Moms for Liberty is an organization for whiny little bitches.
Yeah.
100% whiny little bitches.
They don't like masks and they don't like books.
They don't like masks. They don't like books. But you know what they like the least?
What?
Gay people trying to exist. Oh, yeah.
They don't like gay people either.
They don't like gay people existing. I don't know how we go from like, I think that some of the restrictions in schools are not necessarily in line with epidemiological science. I don't know how we go from that to like fire the gay teachers. Like
that in the White House, Erin, is what we would have called mission creep.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the creepiest of mission creeps. I was also surprised to learn, Alyssa, there's only 103,000 members in the entire country.
Do you know what I was very disturbed to learn? New York State has the second highest Moms for Liberty membership, behind Florida and just ahead of Pennsylvania.
Wow. Congratulations.
Blue states. You got to stay awake even if you're living in the blue states. You have no idea what can be going on.
Yeah, a lot of Moms for Liberty in New York State. The 100,000 number really struck me because that's not that many people.
It's not that many people. I mean, especially if you spread them over about almost 300 chapters.
Yeah, that's not very many people. But like also, if you only had 100,000 followers on Instagram, you would be considered like a micro-influencer.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're not even like really a celebrity. Maybe you have like a niche sort of fame, but like you're not really a celebrity. I don't know.
You might get low-key, like paid a low-key fee to post about like a probiotic.
Mm-hmm. Well, what it seems like Moms for Liberty is a smokescreen for an extreme far-right agenda using the mantle of parents' rights to pretend that like it's a parents' rights issue to regulate whether LGBTQ people can be mentioned as human beings in schools, or whether children should be allowed to read books that educate them on their bodies, or on sexuality that is anything but cis-het sexual relationships.
Right.
It also is a organization that doesn't have it's a 501c4, which means that they don't have to disclose who's giving them money.
Nope.
And so it's pretty murky. And this is just going to be some wild speculation. Mm-hmm. But based on available public information, it seems like there's not that many big players in funding these conservative causes.
Totally agree. Because if you think about it, Erin, Moms for Liberty raised something like $2 million last year. And if you think about it, they have 100,000 members. Like, even if everybody gave $20,
mm-hmm.
like, but they're not. I mean, they get a couple big donations a year, but they really aren't getting like not a lot. $2 million, not a lot of money.
Right. And their merch sales, $96,000.
I saw the merch sales too.
How much of that is ironic?
Googling.
Though?
I resisted looking at what the merch is.
It's probably bad. It's probably pretty bad. They raised $2 million in 2022. The Heritage Foundation and the Leadership Institute, both of which have innocuous names, but very not innocuous missions, have given Moms for Liberty a lot of money. But we still don't know most of the places that Moms for Liberty is getting it from. Like, don't know. I mean, whatever. Leonard Leo's got his fingers in everything.
Is this where we talk about that I thought Leonard Leo was a serial killer?
I do that every single time I see his name. I have to pause and be like, "Oh, not Leonard Lake, the torture dungeon, the torture dungeon guy who killed himself with a cyanide tooth when he was being questioned by the police." No, Leonard Leo, arguably worse for America than Leonard Lake.
Yeah, possibly.
I would say you could do a side by side and like. Leonard Lake was scary and bad, and he did kill a bunch of people. But
maybe
Leonard
that should
Leo,
be our first grid.
Neither funny. That is
neither funny,
nor
both bad in different ways.
Yeah. So Moms for Liberty also has supported. Oh my God, this is something that I was shocked to find. So a tax filing for Moms for Liberty's Florida-based foundation shows that the organization received a $100,000 donation from Julie Fancelli. Julie Fancelli is a member of the family that owns Publix grocery store.
Who knew? I
mean, if you're that far right, shouldn't you change the name of your grocery store to Privix? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Wait.
It's so stupid.
Do you know what I was shocked to learn?
What?
The Moms for Liberty had a summit over the 4th of July. And do you know who one of their sponsors was?
Who?
Patriot Mobile. Erin, did you know there's an actual conservative Christian cell phone company? Who knew?
For what? For what?
I don't know. It's a Christian conservative cell phone company. How are their cell phones different?
How are their cell phones different? But also, how is it different than most major telecom companies that are just donating money to, like, is it like an anti-abortion phone? It's like every time I don't know.
Well, if you have a Patriot mobile phone, your money is going to Trump summit speech and the NRA apparently, and CPAC.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I don't want any of that, so I'm not going to be switching from Verizon. Something that I think we're laughing, right? And we're going to get into the like truly giggle part of this story pretty soon. But I think it's important for people to know that even though this is a fringe organization that champions bad ideas that nobody likes, this is an organization that is taken very seriously by the Republican establishment. Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Asa Hutchinson, and Vivek Ramaswamy have all attended the Moms for Liberty summit. Like, they took it seriously enough to go to their dumb meeting. And so, it's important, I think, for us to even though they are super fringe, like, this isn't actually fringe within the American Republican Party.
And I was going to say that one of the stated goals, as you said earlier, of Moms for Liberty is disbanding, dissolving the Department of Education, which is something that Vivek, Ron DeSantis, and Trump all agree with. If they win the presidency, they will seek to dissolve the Department of Education, which, Erin, as we found out in our research, was only made cabinet level in 1979 by Jimmy Carter.
And there is what we call the nut graph in journalism. They've got all of these like flashy stories, anti-trans laws, libs of TikTok style, like, look at what these, teachers are doing. Look at what they're teaching kids in school. We've got fucking Joe Kennedy reading that book during a committee. Do you remember that? It was like the grossest. No. Fiona's over there nodding. Fiona remembers.
Oh, yes. Old man. Do you know, I'm sorry. I was thinking of a different Kennedy who said that. Yes, I remember. That was disgusting.
It's disgusting. Well, those stories and those causes are the like flashy little Moms for Liberty pet issues that get headlines and go viral. But really what they want to do is privatize public education. That has been a huge goal of the American conservative movement for decades. And they're getting closer than they've ever gotten before by convincing people. I mean, I think COVID convinced a lot of parents who distrusted the public education system to pull their kids out of school. Half of Generation Alpha can't read. Like, the system is really quickly collapsing. Ask any teacher, ask anybody who works in a school right now. It is the worst it's ever been. And even though I think most Americans would hear the idea of dissolving the Department of Education and be like, what? Why would you do that? We're so close to that just happening before our eyes, and having public education go away and have it be just like everything else in this country, something that you have to pay out the nose for, and that is like cripplingly expensive and lines the pockets of people that don't have anybody's best interests in mind except their own. So that's what Moms for Liberty, I think that's what they're really trying to do. And that's probably why they have so many like shadowy far right donors, because it's weird. Like, why do a bunch of middle-aged suit-wearing political consultants care what books kids can check out from the library? Like, why do you fucking care? You're too old to have kids that young.
And the funny thing is like, to your point, is that dissolving the Department of Education has like nothing to do with that. The Department of Education doesn't set the curriculum in schools. That's all done by the state. So they really just want to privatize educate. That is all that this is. It is all a smokescreen just for that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, as part of the smokescreen, there's a super gross story.
Was so gross.
Such a gross story. So one of the three founders of Moms for Liberty is a woman named Bridget Ziegler. Bridget Ziegler is married to Christian Ziegler, who is a potato-shaped man who is in charge of the chair of the Florida GOP. And according to an investigative journalism piece, Christian and Bridget were into threesomes. They were having a menage a trois with him his Bridget, Christian, and a third person, a woman. Of course, because Republicans would never just let it be like 2 dudes and a woman.
Obviously.
Right. So anyway, they were within the context of a threesome relationship, the third party accused Christian Ziegler of abuse and rape. And that is super disturbing. And if if it turns out to be true, I hope he goes to jail. It's like super
definitely. And but in the reporting, one of the stories, one of the findings was that the 3 of them were supposed to meet up, and Bridget couldn't make it. So the woman who was abused was like, I was really just in it for her, so she canceled. And that, according to the story, made him mad and is what prompted him to go over and assault her.
Okay. So that's horrible. That's like one level of horrible that is
horrible.
More horrible than this other thing that we're going to say. But like, why is it okay for, I mean, obviously it's pretty hypocritical for a person who is having like bisexual encounters, even though, the ones she was involved with allegedly were consensual.
Right.
If you're having consensual encounters that are outside of the realm of hetero, then why are you, what are you doing? Why are you crusading against, just like leave everyone alone. You would save so much energy. Alone. Just leave everyone alone. I don't understand. And like, it's really, I don't know. It sort of just reminds me of the like abortions for me and none for thee thing.
Yeah.
You know, how a lot of times protesters outside of clinics will be patients one day and then the next day they're back outside protesting. They're the only ones whose abortion is moral. I feel like that's how it is with the Zieglers. And it's a gross story. And I don't know. Another thing is like Christian Ziegler is like not sexy. Not
remotely. But the one thing, not the one thing, but an interesting thing about this is that, as Floridians, as the head of the party, Ron DeSantis was like, he's got to go. Like everyone gets due process, but this is an unnecessary distraction. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And as opposed to Donald Trump with 91 indictments? Like what?
Do you expect moral consistency from this party? Because
no,
it's if you try it, like I'm feeling myself getting a headache right now, thinking about all of the mental gymnastics that they have to do in order to accommodate all of their deviancy.
No, see, the thing is, you and I would have to do gymnastics to do that. They literally, I think, are very good at compartmentalizing.
Yeah, seriously. They're like the Container Store. Their brains just have all these little areas where things go.
Well-organizer influencer pantry. That's all it is.
It's like every single box has calligraphy labeling exactly what's in there, and ne'er the twain shall meet. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's another thing. Bridget Ziegler is not nobody. She's married to the chair of the Florida GOP, but she's also just now ending her term as the Sarasota School Board chair. And while she hasn't been directly involved in the leadership of the organization that she helped found, she is a member of an advisory board that helps. So it's sort of like she's still, she's still pretty involved. She's still pretty involved. The organization is like, she's not involved. It's like, well, then why is she on this advisory board? So anyway, the organization, long story short, that is campaigning and championing Don't Say Gay bills, trying to get books banned from schools that help children understand themselves and their own identities, and attacking staff members that are members of the LGBTQ community are themselves having these, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't even want to finish the sentence. I'm just like, how, if this were a writer's room, I would be like,
I don't know. This isn't a great story.
This is too ham-fisted, guys. You got to do something else. Like, anyway. So another thing that we want to talk about, Moms for Liberty is probably not going away because I think parental rights is a buzzword that we're going to hear in the debate tonight. Ron DeSantis loves the term parental rights, which is just, bullshit marketing term. But Moms for Liberty's shine has kind of worn off a little bit. In the 2023 elections, they tried to run a bunch of candidates for school board across the country, and they got shellacked. Absolutely shellacked. Pennsylvania, Iowa, Virginia, North Carolina, Minnesota,
Kansas,
Washington. Not doing great. Ohio, not great. They're not doing well. So, Moms for Liberty is still around. They're probably going to be around through 2024. If the phrase parental rights no longer gets the cachet from voters that it got, I'm sure we're going to see this organization go underground and then come back again. Like,
if only because they love wearing their own merch.
Indeed. Okay, news from Texas. Alyssa, can you introduce us to a lawsuit that is being filed in Texas against some of the state's draconian abortion bans?
Erin, a pregnant Texas woman, Kate Cox, whose fetus has a fatal condition, sued the state on Tuesday seeking an emergency court order to allow her doctor to perform an abortion despite the state's strict bans on the procedure. This lawsuit is believed to be one of the first attempts in the nation to seek a court-ordered abortion since SCOTUS overturned Roe v. Wade last year, allowing states to make their own abortion laws. So, Erin, Kate Cox is 20 weeks pregnant. Her fetus has been diagnosed with trisomy 18, a condition that in all but very rare cases leads to miscarriage, stillbirth, or the death of the infant within the first year after birth. Despite trips to the emergency room for pain and discharge, Cox, a mother of 2 young children who lives in the Dallas area, has been told by doctors that she is required to continue her pregnancy under state law. Yes, Erin? All roads lead back to SB 8. Part of the reason she has brought this suit is not only to herself be allowed to get an abortion, but she's seeking to protect her doctor from prosecution as well as her husband, who could both face civil liability under the state's 2021 abortion restriction known as SB 8, which means that private citizens, anyone who sees the doctor, her husband, walk into a clinic can sue her, and anyone who helped her in obtaining an abortion. After, again, to remind folks of the law, SB 8 denies abortion after detection of fetal cardiac activity, which is usually around 6 weeks, which is when most people do not know they could possibly be pregnant.
Okay. So the birth defect, it's actually a chromosomal defect.
It is, right? It means 3 chromosomes.
Yeah, it's something that most states, this is another failure of the state of Texas's infrastructure, because in most states you can take a test pretty early in your pregnancy, like 10 weeks. And again, this would be illegal in Texas regardless, but around 10 weeks,
right,
you can take a screening test that will tell you it just takes your blood, minimally invasive, and they'll tell you if you have any markers of a few really catastrophic genetic issues, and that's one of them. And it just, I don't know. It's really tragic. I don't know what these laws accomplish. If that baby is not going to live, let the parents grieve. That's a wanted child. Like,
right.
why should she need to carry and put herself through a pregnancy that is going to end? Like, the longer it goes on, the harder it's going to be on her body. Like, every time you give birth, it's a huge risk. Like, it's a risk to your future fertility. It's a risk to your health, to your comfort, to your ability to move through the world without like pelvic injury. There's so many risks in birth, and I don't understand what this accomplishes. What does it? You're forcing a person to carry a baby, and with that baby, the stress and anxiety, you're stopping them from moving on. Like, let them move on.
And she could end up giving birth to a baby that would be so ill, it would have no chance. Like that is its own form of torture that they are inflicting her on what is a truly, almost certainly devastating outcome. But how long they are going to make her bear that burden is somehow up to the state. That is so fucking ridiculous. And one of the potentially, I hate to say good outcomes, but because the law in Texas is so nebulous when it comes to exceptions, that the this case could actually force the state to more clearly define what is allowed under law, which would protect patients as well as doctors. Mm-hmm. So she is represented by the Center for Reproductive Rights, which is also representing the 5 women who have brought suit in Texas earlier this year.
Mm-hmm. And another point I want to make is that when babies with these like devastating and probably non-survivable birth defects are born, they take resources.
Right.
I mean, like in a country where the number of OBGYNs available to people who need them is dwindling and is at a premium, we are going to devote resources to something that the parents don't want, that is not survivable for the infant, and that takes time, attention, effort, labor, and impacts the mental health of the medical professionals who have to work on these cases. Like, they're already fucking stretched to their limits, and we're gonna put them through this as well. Like, both parents and professionals.
And it'll be up to the insurance companies whether they're going to allow the treatment. Like, that's the other thing that's crazy about this when you talk about resources. Mm-hmm. This is if Kate Cox were forced to give birth, if the child survived birth, then they would have to file all these claims for insurance that insurance could deny for the care?
Yep. They would need to get a social security number and then enter the social security number into their insurance. Like, it's like the second.
It is extreme cruelty. It is inhumane. It is
complete. It is like, it feels like a medieval torture device, like something that is just completely unnecessary, gratuitous, and like frankly evil.
It's evil.
It's completely evil. Okay, let's move from evil to stupid evil. After
this fucknut.
Tommy Tuberville, senator from Alabama, after 9 months of blocking hundreds of military promotions to protest the Pentagon's payment of abortion-related travel costs, his efforts have been aborted. And he has nothing to show for it. On Tuesday, he said that he would lift the hold on some of the blocked military promotions. Military promotions for people that, by the way, had nothing to do with coming up with the policy that he was mad about. And the policy that he was mad about was something that was enacted after Dobbs, that where the government would reimburse service members who were stationed in states with restrictive abortion laws who needed to travel out of state to obtain abortion care. Not even reimbursing them for the care itself, reimbursing them for the travel that it takes to go from Texas to, say, New Mexico or, Idaho to California, whatever. And Tommy Tuberville held up hundreds of nominations, endangered national security, made a lot of people mad, fucked a lot of families up. A lot of families couldn't move. Their spouses couldn't get jobs. Like, there's all of these, the kids couldn't start at a new school. Like, he fucked all of this up and got nothing.
And he was never going to get nothing. He was never going to get anything.
Yeah, I mean, if he wouldn't have done this.
His own party was turning on him. Like, this, he was trying to make fetch happen. It was never going to happen.
That is so fetch. Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
Well, what's really funny is that he is really trying to save face. After all of this, he said that he got some of the stuff that he was looking for. What, Tommy?
What'd you get, Tommy?
Stuff?
Put it on your Instagram. Let's see what you got.
Okay, to put it in football terms, buddy, you got Florida stated. You got Jack Squat.
Even I know what that means. I know what that means.
And he's the former coach of Alabama.
He got
Florida stated. He got absolutely nothing. He did not change the policy. He's still holding up confirmations for some 4-star generals, but I don't think that that's going to hold for very long because there are mechanisms within the Senate that can just flick him away.
Yeah, Tim Kaine was on television yesterday saying that the Senate would probably just demand to stay in and vote on every single one of them before they went home for the holidays. So way to totally – listen, if there is one thing that members of Congress care about, it's getting on vacation. And so Tommy, I'm telling you, he's going to be sitting alone at the lunch table right before Christmas if they have to do this.
Oh, my God. Well, Alyssa, you know people who used to work for the Senate.
Yep.
Have you heard any of them say, like, make comments about how pissed senators would be if they were?
Yes. I mean, even Tim Kaine was saying it yesterday. Like, give me a break. I mean, they're going to end up being forced to travel on like the second busiest travel day of the holiday season. So that's what you get. Thank Tommy Tuberville.
Okay, but that's funny and good for America.
That's funny and good for America.
That's funny and good for America, because I think if more members of the Senate actually have to experience the hell that is commercial air travel on actual busy travel days, maybe they'll like introduce some resolutions or try to build a train.
I gotta be honest, I can't imagine how many nonstop flights there are from Washington Reagan to whatever Tommy Tuberville's airport is.
What an idiot. Dumbest senator. And there is stiff competition. Dumbest senator. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Vice President Kamala Harris, former senator, who keeps having to go back to her old job.
Erin, I thought this was one of the weirdest stories. Like, of course, you know me. I work from home. I'm by myself. I have cable television on all day. It's an illness. And I see like Chuck Schumer giving her the atta girl. You know, like, oh, way to go, girl. I'm like, what is he talking about? And then I find out that Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, made history earlier this week by casting her 30-second tie-breaking vote, setting a new record for number of votes cast by a vice president.
Well, that's going to win somebody Jeopardy one time.
Someday. You know what? That's a good outcome here. You're right. It's a good Jeopardy question. It's a good Jeopardy question.
Bar trivia at the very least. It's going to be the championship question.
I mean, but like, I don't know. It's not like she did anything. Like, I felt so bad for the story because it's like, it's the weirdest atta girl for something she kind of has nothing to do with. And they're all like praising her. And it's literally her job. Like, it's literally her job to break ties. And it sounds
so boring. Like, she can't do anything. Like, she's got to stick around and be like, all right, well, I can't do any cool shit. I got to wait for these idiots to get in a deadlock.
And like media people-ish took the time to be like, yay, Kamala, because she's not doing anything else that's great. And also not fair. Like, the vice president is the vice president. And look, I was living in the middle of it. What do I know? But I don't remember all these think pieces done about Joe Biden when Barack Obama was president. And also, if people want to wonder why her, quote, approval rating is a little bit low, she was literally given the most unpopular thing to be the hallmark of her portfolio.
Oh my God, yeah.
The administration put her in charge of immigration.
Yeah.
I mean, just to rewind, and I will double check my memory on this when we get off. I am pretty sure that the first thing Joe Biden was put in charge of as president was selling the Recovery Act, which meant going around America and like cutting ribbons for how money was being spent, which most people like. Like, most people look favorably when their roads and bridges get fixed.
Yeah,
and
most people like that. Even Republican governors, they pretend that they did it and like try to whitewash the fact that it's like federal money doing it.
Yeah, I mean, and like she has had problems. She's had a lot of turnover in her office and stuff like that. But I just thought it was such a weird story to begin with. And then also so strange to be tethered to like, also, she's not doing great.
Oh, Kamala. The thing is, I think that she is a really great, passionate speaker when it comes to the issues of choice and reproductive justice, reproductive freedom. Right. So I hope going into 2024, the Biden administration actually lets her go out and speak about.
Yeah.
Because there's, like we've said, old men talking about abortions, kind of weird.
Creepy.
Yeah. Even if they're like pro-choice, if they get too into it, it's like, why are you such a nerd about abortion? Like, why do you
know so much?
Why do you know so much? Unless you're literally a medical doctor that performs abortions, you shouldn't. I mean, I want you to know. You should
just be for it.
You should be for it, know the basics, but I feel like maybe Kamala would be the person to talk about this.
A little bit more standing on the issue.
Yes, a little bit more it's a gynecological procedure. It's super, like, imagine if there was like some urology issue with like the male anatomy. And
No, thank you. I don't want to know anything about it.
We had a female president going up there being like, we got to let the men do whatever they want to their dicks.
Right. Like a female president getting up there and being like, so the scrotum. No, thank you.
Stop it. Stop it.
You should know that there is one and let's move on.
Yes. Does that make us old? Are we prudes? I don't know.
Erin, you know I'm a prude. I'm happy to say it, and that's fine.
Okay, let's talk about Liz Cheney.
Yes.
Liz Cheney wrote a burn book, and it came out. It's called Oath and Honor, a Memoir and a Warning. Okay. That's fine.
Into it.
I mean, is her memoir the warning? Is it about what happens when you're born into a family of megalomaniacs and...
Erin, I'm guessing she skips that part.
Okay.
I feel like
does she get into the
warning?
Part? Okay. Is it a warning about how you shouldn't disown your gay sister?
Again, I'm going to guess that might be a footnote, but I'm guessing there's not a chapter on that.
Okay. Maybe there is. I don't know. I feel like Liz Cheney, I don't want to be a Liz Cheney defender. I would love to talk to Liz Cheney because I think she knows a lot of stuff.
You know why I'll be a Liz Cheney defender?
I think
because she's fucking real. Like, I get it. Look, we know who she is. We know who she is. We know what she believes. And to me, you can have a conversation with someone if you know what they believe. You won't agree with them, but she's not like, I mean, Erin, I woke up this morning. Trump said he's going to be a dictator if he wins.
Just on one day. Just for one day.
But I guess the point is, I took it to mean that if you're a dictator day one, you're kind of a dictator forever.
Right. It's sort of like the purge. If you murder if you murder your neighbor's entire family on the purge, you're still a murderer after the purge is done. I think Liz Cheney is somebody who has demonstrated an ability to learn from her past and be contrite and forthcoming about the way that she's learned from her past. So if there is a chapter in her book, which I actually might read, if there is a chapter in her book about feeling bad about being a jerk to her sister, I wouldn't surprise me. I think that out of all of the like Republican politicians, I think that she's probably the most likely to be like, you know what? I don't like that I did that.
Right. And that's the difference too. She's not flip-flopping. She's like learning and growing. Again, I don't want to make her an American hero, but like at least she can kind of roll with the times, maybe.
Yeah. Although she is considering a third-party run. Do you think she's considering a third-party run so that she gets better press for her book? Because she's a savvy...
One, mad respect if that's the case.
Yeah, good for you, Liz.
But also, she has ever since, like we have to assume that ever since she decided to be on the January 6th committee, that she knew kind of what her fate would be. So I don't just, like for all of these, she to me, and you and I have talked about this a lot, there's like two groups of Republicans. Everyone who was a Republican during the Trump administration, you could either do what Liz Cheney did and be like, I call bullshit, this is bad, and this is a threat to democracy. Or you can be the kind of person who wrote a book and is like, listen, I stayed until the very end because I thought I myself was going to keep Donald Trump from becoming the terror we knew him to be, even though I joined the administration well after things like the Muslim ban had been effected. Like,
right. Yeah. She's no Cassidy. Thank goodness.
She's no Cassidy.
She also has said that she's not ruling out voting for Joe Biden or campaigning for him if he's the 2024 Democratic nominee. I don't know how much power Liz Cheney has over people. Like, I don't know how that would look.
It's a hard. I think that there is probably a small targeted subset of people for whom she might be an effective surrogate.
Right. For people who are doing quiet luxury in the 80s.
Yeah.
I think.
Exactly.
That's her target demo.
But again, I give her credit for saying that when you see how many Republicans cannot say, even people standing on stage to become the Republican nominee can't say, no, I don't support Donald Trump. And no, if he's the nominee, I wouldn't support him. Like, that's crazy. Like, in that way, she is much more honest because you know that the others agree and feel it. They just won't say it.
I mean, I feel like the Republican Party right now under Donald Trump. Did you watch The Fall of the House of Usher? How far did you get in?
Oh, not that far.
Did you get to episode 2?
No.
Okay. Well, never mind then. The final scene of episode 2 is disgusting. It's like people at this hedonistic rave bathed by boiling water and they all die.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What about that pitch right there made you think that this was a show for me?
That's a great point. That's a great point.
You come on. You know.
It's so cartoonishly violent, though, that it's like my brain turned off. It's
fair enough. You can dissociate a bit and be like, this is truly not real.
Yeah. It was like comic book Quentin Tarantino Kill Bill levels of just complete over-the-top gore. But I feel like that that is the Republican Party in late 2023 going into 2024. They're at this hedonistic dance party that doesn't even look that fun. And it's like, oh, guys, your complete horniness for whatever is going on in here is not going to end very well. You know?
I don't know. Maybe should we read her book? I feel like I kind of need to read her book now.
I know. Now I feel like I sold myself on this book. I don't know.
Well, because I feel like she doesn't hold back. And here's the thing. She's only trashing people we already don't like. So it's kind of like, it's a bit like a juicy romance novel for us that we might get at the grocery store.
Right. Except I am completely destroyed from the inside out. And so
Bad for America.
And, well, I think good for America and probably not funny. Liz Cheney does not strike me as a funny
I don't
person.
know.
She might
We'll
be
see. Some of these stories may write themselves.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Okay. Finally, a toast. Well, we got a troast. It's a toast and a roast.
We have a troast, and then I have a tiny toast after.
Okay. So former Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor passed this past week. She was 93 years old. I couldn't believe she was only 93 years old.
I know. I felt like she was 100.
Like younger than Chuck Grassley. That's like, there are people running for re-election who are older than the recently deceased former Supreme Court Justice who retired a long time ago. Yeah, she retired a long time ago, but she passed due to complications related to advanced dementia. She was inspirational to a lot of female lawyers, including the 5 that have served on the Supreme Court. She also saved abortion rights in 1992, despite being appointed by President Ronald Reagan, who was kind of staunchly anti-abortion rights. She helped save abortion rights in 1992 in Planned Parenthood versus Casey, but she also helped ruin America in 2000. Was it 2000 or 2001? Bush v. Gore.
2001, I think, is when the ruling would have been.
Yeah, when the ruling came down. So yeah, and I think that she also was an adherent to an old kind of politeness, decorum type of life that now doesn't really exist anymore. So I don't know. That's how I feel about Sandra Day O'Connor. I think that she was trailblazer with a complicated legacy.
Well, it's like, I think that, she was confirmed 99-0 as a Supreme Court justice. I think that I am cool with someone being on the Supreme Court who doesn't necessarily agree with me, but like approaches it as an actual lawyer judge and has an open mind. But the fact that I did not know about her that I loved the most was that she and William Rehnquist went to Stanford together. They dated and he proposed and she said no.
Good for her.
I know.
Normalized turning down proposals. She was a trailblazer in turning down proposals from rich guys.
Yeah. I was like, good. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, she was an important woman in American history, and rest in peace, Justice O'Connor.
Rest in peace. Another rest in peace that I just wanted to shout out. Norman Lear passed away as we were getting ready to record, Erin.
I hate it.
It's a good dude, founder of People for the American Way. I mean, like, such a good human being. And like, the difference in our ages, me and you, not me and Norman Lear, is like I grew up, you know, like my parents weren't exactly like, let's find out about children's programming. They were like, we're watching All in the Family and so are you. And so I always grew up like with a real place in my heart for him. But the one shout out I wanted to give Norman Lear is that his show Maude with B. Arthur, which was a spinoff of All in the Family, was the first show in prime time to tackle the issue of abortion. They openly talked about, Maude openly talked about with her husband on television, that she was 47, my age, and pregnant, and whether she should have an abortion or not. And it was like a real groundbreaking moment because it was before Roe was legal.
Wow. I mean, this was in the 70s. This was in the 70s. What a groovy guy. He was ahead of his time. He was 101 years old, I believe. And yeah, I mean, look, a life well lived. He was sharp to the end. Yep. According to everything I've seen of him publicly. I think he was doing public appearances and social media stuff like last year.
Yeah. Totally.
Like recently. Sharp to the end. I don't want to sound like pessimistic, but like progress is not linear. Right? Norman Lear, the fact that he was doing what he was doing in the 70s, and then we had these eras of backlash. Like, I think we sometimes get really comfortable with the fact that like, oh, this has been accomplished, and so now that means there's a pin in it, and we can't go back. No, we absolutely can, and we do all the time. And we need to guard the gains that we win, and we need to keep fighting for the things that we think are settled, but actually are not settled, because there's always going to be somebody trying to claw back what we've won. And Norman Lear is a really good example of a person who was aware of this and kept fighting, even though I think he was doing stuff in the 70s that like in the 90s, he was probably like, what is going on?
It's like, seriously, I thought we covered this, people.
What is going on? Why does nobody? Anyway, so Norman Lear, a real one. Gosh.
A real one.
He was, we got to guard Mel Brooks at all costs. I'm sorry I even said that. Guard Mel Brooks at all costs, please.